the guest appearance this week, I'm so excited about it. She is a reporter at Fox Sports 1340 AM in Hopewell, host of the Sports Smarts podcast series at National Sports Media Association. She's a sideline reporter at Georgetown University and the Big East. She has covered the NBA Finals, the Super Bowl, out of Baltimore, Maryland. We welcome award-winning sports reporter and host Kelsey Nicole Nelson to the show. Kelsey, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having. Look, I love that. I love that intro. I am great. I'm excited to join y'all. Y'all talk to Baltimore Justice. So look, I'm happy. I'm happy to be
We're so excited for you to be on the show, Kelsey. We're ready to talk some sports with you, man.
Yes, we are. But we're gonna get to some sports, Clarence. Pump the brakes. Let's talk about Kelsey real quick. Let's talk about you, Kelsey. Let's get right to it. I know you grew up in Montgomery County, Maryland, but you attended Clarksburg High School. Can you talk about your experience growing up in the state of Maryland and how it impacted your life overall?
Yeah, let me tell you, there's no place like the DMV. I'm so honored to grow up here. I love it. That's why I went to school here, Maryland and Georgetown. It's just such a unique place and helped me become who I am. My family's Southern, so I'm that Southern belle that was born in the DMV area. But there's always stuff going on. It was easy to get into sports here, right? We have everything. And then there's such a mix of culture. Like go-go music is part of my blood. We put mumbo sauce on all of our chicken. Like it's just
whoa.
And then football and crabs. Like that's what we do. We love football. We love our crabs, our crab cakes. And I wouldn't take it away. So I love Maryland. See, I'm rocking the gold. That's in our state flag. But I love it. And so I'm thankful. My high school was just amazing. I was part of the four-year graduating class there. And I got to do a lot there. It was over the yearbook, newspaper, played sports, got my feet wet into the industry. And then kind of the rest is history, as they say. So I love it. Shout out to Clarksburg. Shout out to Montgomery County and all the great people out there.
I love the energy, Kelsey, and I really do. And I while we trying to understand Maryland, I be trying to like follow like the Ravens because Lamar he be like be more. He's like, yeah, we in a be more Maryland. So I be like, okay, I don't know what that means or that slang, but I want to ask you this.
Yeah,
so tell me, like, when did you realize you wanted to be a sports journalist growing up?
Yeah. And so I always tell this story, like I was always a daddy's girl. Like I literally have a girl daddy. It's me and my sister. My dad went to Grambling State University. So like literally I grew up in a football world. I grew up with Bayou Classics and HBCU sports. And so I always had to be around the game. I loved playing the game. I knew I wanted to play sports, but I think in high school, I was that injured player. I was like, I don't know about these things. So I think the next best thing and cover the sports. And that's what I wanted. I just always wanted to be around the game. I've always loved talking to people and telling stories. I think high school is like, you know what? I'm going to make this a career. And then ever since then, no one's been able to stop me. So it's just been trying to continue to grow and trying to just continue to grow the brand and connect with so many great fans.
Now, Kelsey, what sports did you play when you were in high school?
I played basketball and volleyball.
Okay. Basketball and volleyball. Okay. Which one excited you the most? Which one did you have the most passion for, basketball or volleyball?
Passion for basketball, but I didn't start playing volleyball until high school. So for me, I think volleyball was fun just because I learned it in high school and you got to grow with the sport. And volleyball is a lot. Look, I had a lot of bad elbows and knees for a while, but I'm back now, back better than ever. Look, as you get older, I promise it does not get worse. I think I'm in the best state of my life.
Man. See, honestly, I love volleyball. I love volleyball, to be honest, because I played volleyball in high school. Not for the team though, but when it was in gym, I was happy. Oh, I'm trying to play volleyball, like because I was like serving and spiking. It was exciting. It was competition too. But yeah, definitely. So Kelsey, so can you tell me, like, you a sports journalist and sports journalism and you're a reporter. Can you tell us like the obstacles about being like a journalist and a sport and a reporter though? It seemed like you just always busy. Like I just looked at your resume. You previously worked for NASCAR, SB Nation, NBC Sports, Washington Arena Football League. So can you tell me like the obstacles in that like career?
Oh my gosh, where do I start? Like how long is this show again? No, I'm just playing. But a lot. Like, I mean, I think you choose this career because you want to work. It's a career where you have to put a lot of work in. You are always busy. I am that friend that always is changing schedules, can't make happy hours because whoops, something came up. I have to be there. I have to cover that. But I love it. I'm that person that loves the thrill. I like that no day is the same. And look, I'm a Black woman in sports. There's a lot of obstacles every day that you face. You talked about working for NASCAR. People don't expect someone that looks like me. I just was at Super Bowl in February. I kind of stood out on Radio Row. Not many Black women in sports talk radio. And so it's always an obstacle. You always have people thinking you don't know what you're talking about. You have people judging you by your looks all the time, your weight. It's a lot. It's a lot. Like I said, it's something that I love. It's something that I want to do. No one's going to talk me out of it. And I think it's important for people like me to be here to make sure that we create more space for people that look like me to come through the door. So it's not as hard for them. And of course, we have to thank the pioneers that came before. But it's a lot. It's busy schedules. If you have a family, look, you have to have people that understand in your life because your schedule is just so crazy and busy.
Yeah.
Every day. And of course, now with COVID, we're all kind of asking, well, what's next? What are we doing? How are we transforming? Yeah. I had to completely change my show now to do interviews like we're doing now. Lots of Zoom interviews, lots of Zoom calls.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm doing from my house, not at the games. And now for sideline reporting, I'm pretty much probably not doing it. You see college sports getting canceled left and right. And so,
oh God.
Yeah. What?
But I love it.
Yeah, we'll get into that here shortly. And you kind of mentioned it a little bit when you were just talking. Let me ask you a question, Kelsey. As a female sports reporter, being in sports and just in general, sometimes I think that women get overlooked a lot. And can you discuss some of the challenges that you've had to overcome and how it motivates you to want to accomplish more being in the sports broadcasting industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. So,
great question.
I think our voices are unfortunately still silenced. We're still always thought of as last. And then sometimes I think we're supposed to be that token. Well, let's just get a woman to get a woman. No, get a woman because she's qualified and she can do her job and she's going to do it to the best of her ability and maybe better than you. That's my mindset and that's my frame. But again, we're judged so often and so easily. You still have women sometimes waiting to get into locker rooms, right? Like, is it appropriate for a woman to be there? What do you mean? Like, what do you mean?
Right.
Just the craziness that we face every single day. And then, you always stand out. And again, you have people always questioning, well, how did she get there? Why is she there? So it's always having to answer those questions. So you have to be confident in yourself. And I always say, if you're in a room, know you're supposed to be there and own it. Own it. Make sure people know your name and that they know the quality of your work. And I think as women, it's something we have to do to the best because we're not allowed to make mistakes. Because if a female makes a mistake, no one's going to let her live it down, especially the people with the happy Twitter fingers. They won't let you forget it. So it's always kind of having to be perfect. But I say being perfect is just being prepared for anything that comes up because that's what sports is. COVID came. You had to be prepared, right? Right. Technically prepared, but if you know your stuff, just like an interview, things change, right? You might be waiting to interview one player. Well, wait. He got injured. So now it's another focus. You just always have to be prepared for what's next. But as women, again, we have to do our job 2 times, 3 times. And as a Black woman, probably 8 times better than everyone else. Right.
Now, we got a couple more questions before we get into some sports, Clarence. Go ahead. You got another one you want to ask her?
It was just a short, brief one though, Kelsey. Like, you growing up, you wanted to be this sports journalism and you was into sports. What was your biggest motivator? Like that kept you on high water?
Yeah, I have to say my parents. Like literally my parents, especially my dad and my mom, there's at least one of them were always at every single game. And I had those parents that always, I can do anything. So growing up, you couldn't tell me anything. Because look, now my dad said I could be here, I can do this. So look, and it was great having that support. And that's why I'm a big proponent of parents being involved in their children's lives and athletics. And if their parents aren't there, they need some type of guardian or person, mentor, somebody that can be there to support them because those relationships so early on are so important. So I have to thank them, for doing it. Even now, thank gosh, they still live in the same area. They'll be at my games when I'm sideline reporting. My mom's like, that's my baby. She's the one. It's awesome. And I have to say, like, having their support meant the world because, again, I knew I could do anything and they've always pushed and propelled me. And they, came on this journey with me. They didn't know what it was like to have a daughter in this industry, but, they're embracing it. They're loving it. And it's so great to have them along for the journey.
Now, I know you've covered the NBA finals, the WNBA finals, the Super Bowl. What was your first major sports event that you covered? And what was that experience like? And how nervous, Kelsey, were you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it depends on what you like. Because I covered a NASCAR series race very early on. But if you're not a NASCAR, you might that's not big. I've covered, PGA. If you're into golf, that's big. But again, I think it depends. But I think for most sports fans, because we love basketball, I think that NBA finals that I covered was probably the biggest one that everyone's like, wow, you all were there. Because if we go back to 2016, you guys remember the teams that were there. And who came up, and it was so great to be there. I remember, especially now that Oracle Arena it's no longer where the Warriors are obviously going to be playing. It's just so many memories, and I'm thankful for that opportunity. And once you get to that professional sports level rank, you have to kind of differentiate yourself and make sure like people know why you're there. And once you get to a finals, you feel like you've done the work to be the journalist that you want to be. And so after that, I feel like it was just much easier for me to kind of get into places, get credentialed. People knew my name more. And then, of course, just covering the Super Bowl now, I will say that's probably the next biggest one, just because, especially now with COVID, that was the last like huge event that I covered in Miami.
Yeah.
We had only known that was going to be like one of the last big events. I mean, there's so much more you probably would have tried to do, but it was great. It's great. There's nothing like, and I always encourage like young journalists, work your way there, because when you get there, be ready for it. But it's something that you'll never forget. But most people don't get to go to NBA finals. Most people don't get to go.
Right.
Privilege, and it's an honor. I'm forever thankful.
Yeah, real quick, Clarence. Let me ask her one more question, because she kind of alluded to it when she was talking. I wanted to ask you, so far in your career, have you had a moment or an accomplishment, Kelsey, something that made you feel as if you have arrived or you belong in sports journalism? If so, can you share that moment with us?
Yeah, I'll say earlier this year, I found out I was the DMV Sports Media Person of the Year. I told you guys, I love the DMV. Like, I am the DMV. Like, it's my hometown. I'm near and dear to it. No one can say anything bad about this area, or I will come for you. Like, it's just that type of thing. So being able to get an award from your hometown, for people that grew up with you, saw you grow up, saw me from little Kelsey to Kelsey Nicole Nelson now, it was so special to me. There's so many greats that come through the sports scene in this area. And to do it in the nation's capital, come on. It's nothing else. I think for me, that spoke a lot, and that let me know I'm here for a purpose. People like what I'm doing, and that to me made me know that I have to keep delivering, right? Like, once you get that award, stay at that level and then get even higher. So it raised the bar for me. And again, it was just so special. I found out about it at Super Bowl. Like, what better way to find out you won an award like that than at the Super Bowl? Like, it was a lot. Very touching. I'm not usually an emotional person, but I was emotional that day.
Hey, you deserve it though. You
deserved it.
You won that trophy. Like, man, that's a big accomplishment. Like, to be honest. But okay, Kelsey, let's transition to some football real quick. So I read on your bio that you was a Ravens fan. You were a big Ravens fan. So tell me, when did you start liking the Baltimore Ravens?
Oh my gosh. So I've been here since the beginning, 96. Like, it's been I told you, me and my dad would always, and it's so funny, I always tell this story. So growing up, most people in Montgomery County, they love the Washington football team. It's weird. Like, Maryland, it's like Baltimore is technically not in the DMV. People
We're gonna get to that question.
Yeah.
In reasoning, but for me, I told you, I grew up with family that really taught me the importance of African American history. So early on, I knew the Washington football team was the last team to integrate. So I was never allowed to root for them or cheer for them growing up. So I mean, quite naturally, me and my dad became Ravens fans. Like, Ed Reed is my all-time favorite player. Growing up with a team that had and I'm a defense person. I love a great defense.
Okay.
Defense. And that's what the Ravens team has been known for, until Derrick Henry messed that up. But we're not going to talk about that right now. But
come on. Why not? We're gonna get into that though.
Yeah, we are.
So many greats have come through that team. What they've done, I don't think people realize. Of course, I mean, we know what happened with the Mayflower, and we're not going to hold anything bad against that other team. But for a team to grow like they have and have accomplished so much so young, like we all know, they probably should have had another Super Bowl ring, but that got up last year. But we're excited for this season, should we have it. But it's just a special team. Baltimore is a special city. Charm City, like, it's nothing like it. So I've been a Ravens fan since inception, and I'll be that until I go in the ground.
Now, Kelsey, we got to apply some pressure on you here on the Wise Guys Sports Show on the Worldwide Sports Network. We have to. Last year, your team won the AFC North with a 14-2 record and was the number 1 overall seed in the AFC playoffs, but they lost in the divisional round to the Tennessee Titans 28-12. What went wrong for your Ravens, Kelsey?
Oh, I want to hear this.
Oh my gosh, and me and my friends debate about this all the time. That bye week, we had the momentum, and then the bye came, they relaxed, they got comfortable. We show up, it was rusty on the offensive side. Lamar wasn't the Lamar that we've seen on that Madden cover, just the Lamar we've seen the whole season. But also the defense fell apart. It fell apart. It was embarrassing. So Derrick Henry had his way. He manhandled that defense. You think about Earl Thomas and just so many others. And I mean, it was bad. Like, it was hard for me to keep watching that game. And I just knew you just had to keep watching. Teams, right?
Yeah.
Like, best team, and this was the best record in the Ravens franchise history. Lamar Jackson was just doing incredible things. Like it was tough. It was tough. I think on both sides of the ball. But honestly, I think that bye week, I think that hurt them. Like I think they got comfortable. They started to believe the hype. You know, when you believe that hype, they were so used to being the underdogs the entire season. Then all of a sudden, you know, you're the favorite. You've got this. And think about it. I was thinking about Ryan Tannehill and the Titans. Come on, like
right, exactly.
Look,
true. Yeah. Well, it's funny though, Kelsey, because Clarence, he thinks Ryan Tannehill is an elite quarterback. I don't know how. Yes.
I want to hear this, Clarence.
I'm just saying. Look, he got traded. Look, he got in midseason. He got traded from Miami to Tennessee. And Marcus Mariota, he wasn't getting the job done. And Ryan Tannehill came in and took over the starting quarterback. He led them to playoff wins. He was one game away to beating the best of the best, the Kansas City Chiefs. Like you said, we didn't expect Ryan Tannehill to go to no AFC championship. This was a surprise. So I'm like, that makes him elite. That makes him elite because he made people like think like he believed in him. Like
so Clarence.
Good. I wouldn't say it was Ryan Tannehill. Come on.
Thank you. Now, see, Kelsey, this is what I explained to Clarence. I told him the reason why the Tennessee Titans overachieved and got to the AFC Championship game, it wasn't because of Ryan Tannehill. It was because of Derrick Henry. And you know, Ryan Tannehill got paid in the offseason, Kelsey. And I told Clarence that I believe Ryan Tannehill, he should be paying for Derrick Henry's Christmas gifts and his family this year. He should be paying for Derrick Henry's family's Christmas gifts because I think Derrick Henry got Ryan Tannehill that contract. I don't think Ryan Tannehill is an elite quarterback, me personally.
Literally, Ryan Tannehill had the dream. He had okay, I'm gonna put this in relationship terms. He had that beautiful girl, right? Which is Derrick Henry. That girl that you've always admired on Instagram, the one that you've always been trying to go after, and makes you look good. That's exactly what he had in Derrick Henry. That's what happened. And I think Ryan Tannehill, again, not a bad quarterback, but let's all remember we had a good quarterback on the market like a Cam Newton. And you see how long it took him to get signed. Ryan Tannehill, and he can. Think about how good he can be if he has the right cast of characters in New England, even though, geez, it seemed like with COVID, I mean, New England players were dropping left and right? I'm not playing this.
Yeah.
Ryan Tannehill was in a good situation. He was in a good situation, and it matters. I think even when we talk about the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, he's a talented quarterback, but he's also in the right situation with the coach that understands him, an offense that's able to go around his best abilities, and people that look good. And that's why even I'm excited for Lamar. Marquise Brown put on 28 pounds of muscle. Think about what he
I want to ask you this, though. Kelsey. Yeah. You know, when y'all drafted Lamar Jackson and you seen all the hype, he's a running back, he's not no quarterback, and what is Baltimore doing of drafting him? Actually, 31 teams passed on him. Even the team Baltimore passed on him, but they came back in the first round and got him back. So tell me, like, what was your reaction when y'all did draft the Lamar Jackson?
Let me tell you, I've been a Lamar fan. I always root for the underdog. And how perfect was it that when we had Ozzie Newsome, who was the African-American GM in the National Football League, for him,
he's a magician,
a black quarterback. And if you know Ozzie knows his stuff. When Ozzie does something, it goes right. And as we say in Baltimore, in Ozzie we trust. And that's what it was. I think he was a very different style of quarterback than Joe Flacco. So I think that's why you had some Ravens fans at first going, what? Is this going to work?
Yeah.
Now what they've been able to do with Lamar Jackson, who's under him. RG3, talk about just similar styles and someone who can really complement him and back him up. It's an exciting time in Baltimore, and we've never had anything like it. And mind you, I remember when Lamar played his first game, it was rough. It was bad. But I think what made him so special is after that, he went that all season, just became a beast, a monster. And then we saw what he was able to do the next season. And now we're all ready for week 3, the Chiefs and the Ravens, Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson.
You can't forget week 5. You can't forget week 5, Kelsey. Y'all play against my boy Joe Burrow and the Bengals, man. So
nobody cares about the Bengals.
Trust me. This is an AFC North conversation, Trey. So you gotta listen to this, man.
No. Okay. So Kelsey, in free agency, this year y'all brought in Matthew Judon, outside linebacker. Y'all got Derek Wolfe, defensive end, Justin Ellis, defensive tackle. You know, re-signed Jimmy Smith, cornerback. Which free agent signing excites you the most for your team, and which player will have the biggest impact that y'all signed in free agency?
You started with it, Judon. Like, I think he was a piece that not enough people talked about, but he's such a core piece of that team. He's a heartbeat of that team. Because think about it, for a long time, I think this team has always had loud voices, right? For a long time, it was Ray Lewis when he was with the team. Judon is that player. As he says, body built by Taco Bell. If you're a Ravens fan, you know that. He's sponsorship with Taco Bell. But he's inaugural that team. So I think that was great. Calais Campbell. Not enough people are talking about that, though. Like,
he's a beast.
Somehow, like, even though this team was loaded last year, they got more loaded. And then how they drafted, I think they had one of the best draft classes. So again, I think this is why they're putting the league on notice. As long as Lamar stops hopping over jet skis and stuff and scaring the hell out of us here in Baltimore, I feel like it's going to be a fun time again. I think we're so privileged and blessed to have Lamar Jackson in this division. I mean, people are talking, and then also think about it. No more Tom Brady, right? No more Tom Brady in New England. Like, it's going to be, I think, just the time for him to rise and shine. And I love his saying, you know, nobody cares, work harder. He always knows he's an underdog. I think that's what fuels him. But those free agent signings, job well done to the front office.
Well, let me tell you this, Kelsey. For us Cincinnatians, we're not happy that we got to play with play against a quarterback that can run. And I think that what the Bengals did, they signed a lot of players that was good against the run. You draft a lot of athletic players. So I think that's going to be a challenge upon us because we're dealing with a quarterback that can run, and he's a very underrated thrower. So when I think of Baltimore, I'll be like, oh man, Lamar Jackson, man, God, man, we got to deal with this. But his defense, I read in this article, they was ranked the #1 defense going into 2020. I'm like, are you serious? But yeah. I'm very excited though for the Baltimore and the AFC North showdown, man. I'm definitely gonna be tuned in.
Real quick, Kelsey, I want to say this real quick. I have to exclude myself from the rest of the Cincinnatians. I am a diehard Packers fan. I don't know if you had a chance to look at my Instagram or my Facebook, but I'm a diehard Packers fan.
So how did that happen?
I've always been a Packers fan, Kelsey. Since I was a young kid, my mom, she was buying me like Green Bay Packer blankets. I had Packer trash cans and a Packer toothbrush when I grew up. I've never been a Bengals fan, so I had to disassociate myself from what Clarence just tried to say. I wanted you to know I am a fan of a team that has won Super Bowls and has had playoff success. I just want you to know that before we moved on.
Shade, man. That is the most shade.
I had to let it be known.
Oh my God.
Now, real quick, Kelsey, John Harbaugh is leading the charge for your Ravens, and he's 128 and 81 overall as a head coach. He's won 61% of his games. How do you feel about John Harbaugh as a coach, and do you believe he can help with the development of Lamar Jackson as his career goes along?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like, there's a reason why John Harbaugh won Coach of the Year with Lamar Jackson. I mean, their chemistry is just undeniable, and he works with Lamar. He didn't try to change Lamar. I think that's what's so special about John Harbaugh. If you talk to players, you say he's a player's coach. He gets us. He understands us. And look, I know he has that older brother that gets more attention, but John is doing the right job, and it's an exciting thing. And think about what the Ravens have done under his leadership. It's been incredible. They're a team you usually always put in the playoffs. You're not worried about them, getting to the playoffs. It's how they will do in the playoffs. So that's because of John. I think he's been it's such an important part about it. And then again, to have a quarterback like Lamar, who was underestimated, to believe in him, allow him to grow. I mean, there were some times in games I'm like, what is John doing? He trusts Lamar so much. If Lamar was like, hey coach, I think I can do this. And it's like, you're about to go for 3 on the 50-yard line. I'm like, no, wait, like don't do that. And John trusts him and he gets the job done. But again, I think that's what you need. You need a coach that believes in you to be the best of your abilities. And I think a coach that allows you to be unique. I think that's what Cam Newton needs. I hope he finds that because, again, you have these unique style quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are just different, right? I mean, Lamar has opened up the game. Even Michael Vick is giving his praises. Like, that's when you know you're doing something right. Michael Vick gives you – I mean, it's great. So I think John is the right man for the job. And I mean, he's probably one of the few coaches in the NFL. I think who knows he has some job security.
So you keep mentioning Cam Newton, though, Kelsey. So who you have favorite winning the AFC East?
I'm gonna tell you why I keep mentioning Cam Newton because I get so frustrated. I get so frustrated with everyone saying he's done, he's washed, he's not.
Me too, Kelsey. Me too.
See what Cam Newton did in Carolina, and I get tired of disrespect. And I think and again, this is a different Patriots team, and I think we also cannot say he's going to be the next Tom Brady because that's not Cam. Cam is amazing though. Look, Tom Brady's like untouchable. So if I could pick anybody, I would have picked Cam Newton, especially when we saw the quarterbacks that were available. But I thought it was disrespectful how long he was on the market, and then you see what he got signed for. It's like Cam has it anymore, and that hurts me. And if anything, that's why I'm excited he actually went to this division. I think it's going to be great football, and I don't think you can count the Patriots out. I think before, honestly, we were, but honestly, at this point, give them a chance with Cam at the helm. Who knows? They might can do that job.
Yeah, I agree, Kelsey. I actually have the Patriots winning the AFC East, but then I saw they had 8 players that opted out, so I'm kind of changing my pick. But when you talk about Cam, I didn't like the way the Carolina Panthers treated Cam Newton, Kelsey. I think they really, really disrespected Cam. And me and Clarence talked about this on our show. When they released Cam, Kelsey, they released him via text. I thought that was so disrespectful, and it was just rude. And then they had a poll. Before they released him, they had a Twitter poll question about the greatest Panthers in history. They didn't even have Cam Newton as a candidate. They had Julius Peppers. I think they had Luke Kuechly and Steve Smith. I'm like, are you serious? And I think Cam, he devoted so much blood and so much commitment to that Panther organization. I thought they could have done better by Cam. And if you're going to break up with someone, you break up with them face to face, not via text. That's so weak to me.
Right? Like it was hurtful. It was hurtful. Let me tell you, me here in DC, some wanted that reunion of Cam Newton with Ron Rivera here. But of course, that would have meant Dwayne Haskins would not have been that guy. And I think Washington is putting so much behind Dwayne Haskins to be that guy. And I hope he has a breakout season. He needs to have a breakout season. But it would have been special, right? I mean, if Cam and Ron could have reunited for this Washington franchise, I mean, it would be fun. Because let me tell you, fans here in DC, they keep fighting for those RG3 days. Like, that's the glory days they want back here in Washington. Not coming anytime soon, but I mean, that was a special time in Washington because I think that was probably the last time that people really felt hope and dreams. And actually on that, I want to go back to the Ravens really quick because I thought this was fun. I had Chase Young's dad on my show listening with K&N, and it was great because he said, look, I love my son and he's so awesome, but I'm most excited to see if he can get to Lamar Jackson because he's like, if he can get to Lamar Jackson, that's he's mark. He's like, Chase Young is preparing for Lamar Jackson because he wants to be that guy that gets him down. So again, I think it's going to be a fun football season. Should we have it, of course, with COVID?
Chase is a beast.
He is a beast.
So if he's chasing Lamar Jackson, he better get to him before Lamar even look left and right. That's all I'm saying. But
yeah. Real quick, Clarence. Clarence, I want to ask Kelsey about a situation that took place in Baltimore, and this is me. I already threw my shade at you, Clarence. Now I got to throw some shade at Kelsey. How do you feel about that 4th and 12 play from a few years ago when the Bengals actually eliminated your Ravens? I know y'all remember that. Where were you, Kelsey, when that happened? And how did Maryland as a state, how did they take it? How did Baltimore take it?
He brought that up, Kelsey. That's shade.
No next about names, never come back on this show. No, I'm just fine. But it's hurtful. I mean, it was one of those things to me. It was like, I can go back to the Billy Cundiff moment. Like, I mean, it's just some of those moments that you just don't forget and you start punching your wall. Like you take off of work for the week. Like you go into the depression state. It was tough. I think we were enough. And again, I think, and honestly, the next time I felt like that was probably with the Derrick Henry thing. Because I was running my mouth until this past football season. Like the Ravens are about to do it. I was finally placing bets. Like I was that excited. And then lo and behold, I guess Derrick Henry didn't hear what I was saying to people because he messed up my dreams. But it was just one of those moments. And I think the Bengals, even though that's usually like, it's crazy, no matter how good the Ravens are, I feel like they usually can give a tough time. It's those like crazy games like that we actually have to watch.
Yes.
The Bengals and the Browns sometimes. You're like, this team is good. How are y'all struggling against these teams? But those are the games.
Kelsey, I was in such disbelief when I was watching that game. It was 4th and 12. All the Ravens had to do was get one stop, and the game was over, and they were going to the playoffs. I couldn't believe it.
You know who was that quarterback? Andy Dalton. He came in the clutch again, man. But Andy's gone. But Andy is gone, so I'm glad he's gone. But Kelsey, I want to ask you this. So the old Washington Redskins, they changed their team to the Washington football team. And you being in Maryland, tell me, how does those fans out there in Maryland like handle the situation that Dan Snyder decided to change the team to Washington football team?
It's been a crazy time in the DMV to say the least. Like, one, we're DC, so we have the crazy political scene going on here, and then and that's crazy. DC is such a unique place right now because fans are still excited. You see what the Nats have done, the Mystics have done. It's been a fun. The Caps, like, we've been winning championships. The city of champions. But then you go to, we're a football city. People love the Washington football team. And then I think the old Washington Redskins name, it was 50-50 for people here. Being a football town, everybody has some type of Washington football gear in their house, right? It just is what it is. And so many people had attached onto that name. Think about it, 100 years, like 1932. Think about how long that name has been a part of tradition here. I mean, we just lost Chief Z, who was an African-American male who'd be at every football game dressed up in headgear, and everybody would go to Chief Z, take pictures with Chief Z. It was like the thing to do. So I think half the people here are like, wait, half the media here had never used that name because it was an offensive term, right? There's other people saying it's always been offensive. They've never used the name. And the other half are saying, what do you mean? This is our heritage. This is what we want. And I kind of tie it to the Confederate flag thing where people didn't want to let it go. They didn't want to let it go. And if you see now, if you go on their social media, some people refuse to not call them the Washington Redskins anymore. But at the same time, I think now, since time has gone on, people are starting to embrace it more. I know the big thing, people just want to keep the hashtag HT. Trying to figure out what name is going to be the name, but it's been an interesting time in DC to say the least. I think people are having good.
Well, okay, Kelsey. So, real quick, I wanted to ask you, in the city of Baltimore and just overall in Washington D.C. as well, because I got a sister. My sister lives in Washington D.C. She lives literally right across from the Washington football team stadium. Are there more Ravens fans or Washington football fans?
Oh, for sure, Washington football fans. Like, Washington is like, I think, number 3 in how big the franchise is. They're another under Dallas. Them changing the name was so huge because they're such a valuable franchise. Like, people here live and breathe by the football team, no matter how good or bad they are. It just is what it is. And so Baltimore, even though they're the better team right now, they have less fans. It's a smaller pocket. The Orioles, same thing. So definitely way more Washington fans throughout the area.
Okay, I got one more question for Clarence before we switch to basketball. Kelsey, who is the greatest Baltimore Raven in NFL history?
I told you, I shared my answer. I don't care what anybody says. Like, Ed Reed is my all-time favorite player. So
okay. Now, I know you said that's your favorite, but is he the best in Raven history? You say yes?
He's the best because I think what he did for the safety position, I mean, if you are a good safety, you probably are trying to take something from his game. And what he did, I mean, quarterbacks, Peyton Manning would say it. Like, when you saw Ed Reed, you were afraid to throw. It changed. Yes. And so I know most people will probably say Ray Lewis, and we know what he did for the middle linebacker position, but Ed Reed was just something special. He was a ball hawk. I mean, he literally was a ball hawk. He could have played offense if he wanted to. He was just that good.
Yes, I agree with you.
So Kelsey, I got a question real quick. So I was watching The Herd from Colin Cowherd, and he had a prediction that the Baltimore Ravens is going to go 16-0, and they got the weakest road schedule in the NFL. So tell me, do you honestly believe the Ravens going to even come close to like 16-0? I'll take 15-1, 14-2, 13-3. Like, do you believe this type of fanatic he just said?
Look, I believe in the team. They can do it if they want, but I'm gonna say at least 15-1 because I think that Chiefs game is going to be. Because if you remember, the Ravens beat them last year. Pat Mahomes has a vengeance, but the Ravens want to prove again that they are the best teams. I think that game is one you have to look at, and then of course that revenge game against that team down in Tennessee. But I think 15-1. But you know what? They can do it. I mean, they have a good team on both sides of the ball. Like, it's as long as it's injury free, as long as Lamar is good, it could happen.
All right, Kelsey, let's switch gears to some NBA. As the NBA restart has taken place in Orlando, how do you feel about the gameplay so far, watching it on TV, or, and do you think we will crown a champion in Orlando?
Yeah, look, I hope we crown a champion. I think we all need it because COVID has just been a lot on us, but I love the play. I mean, there's a reason why, Devin Booker is able to send Kendall Jenner strawberries on Instagram. Life is good. Life is good in the bubble.
Yeah.
it's fun, you know, and I think I mean, y'all talked about Dame and what Dame is giving us, and even the Suns coming out of nowhere. Like, it's just been a special, special time. And I think well, other than our DC team, sorry, Washington Wizards fans, but they're a little short, but hey, Giannis decided to do some head bumping, and so the Wizards did make some type of impact in the bubble, I guess. But overall, I think the play has been good. I mean, I think, you do see some exhaustion. I think Zion, I'm like, oh, we wanted more. But overall, I've been pleasantly pleased, and I'm just happy 0 COVID cases, and that they're giving us great basketball night in and night out. And what LeBron is doing, you can't be mad at.
Well, actually, that's where I was going with it next, Kelsey, because me and Clarence, we disagree on how good the Lakers actually are. He even went as far as to say they are a loaded team a few shows ago. What are your expectations for the Lakers once the playoff starts?
Let me tell you, I think LeBron came there with a reason and a purpose. I know Dame said that in his post-game interview, but I would say LeBron did the same thing. He knew what he was doing when he was going to LA. We all know what happened earlier this year with the loss of Kobe Bryant. And so I think he's taking all that and turning it into, this is my time, this is my legacy, I'm only getting older. And what a time to do it than in the bubble. We see how he's gelling and meshing. You see Kyle Kuzma saying he can shoot over Jesus. Like, he's just that confident.
Yeah.
That's time right now for this Lakers team. And so I think they are expecting nothing less than the best. Y'all talked about it. The Warriors are sitting at home. They're not that team anymore that anyone's worried about, in the West. And I think they're not going to feel good unless they come home as champions. And I think LeBron wants it. He has the team to support him. What AD is doing. I mean, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. If they can keep things going, I'm excited.
You think they can beat the Clippers, Kelsey, in the Western Conference Finals?
Good. Let me tell you, the Clippers are very good. But look, I want the Clippers to piss off the Lakers like they did to Dame Lillard, so we can see them just go off. Because I think that's what you saw happen. I mean, Dame was like, all right, y'all, all right. And then we saw what he turned that
Look, Kelsey, I told Trey they're loaded with experienced veterans and enough talent for them to make it deep into the playoff. That's what I wanted to clear up, though, because they is loaded with a lot of experience, the Lakers team, and I do got them winning the NBA Finals because I'm not betting against playoff Bron. And Trey, this in his heart, he believes the Portland Trailblazers is going to knock off the Lakers. I said, bro, LeBron hasn't never lost a first round matchup, man. You really think he's going to lose to a team that's struggling to get into the 8th seed?
Now, let me explain my position, Kelsey. Let me explain my position. See, I'm of the belief that the Lakers, they don't have enough. They are a top-heavy basketball team. You got LeBron James, obviously 3-time NBA champion, 3-time Finals MVP. We know what LeBron's going to bring to the table. We know Anthony Davis, his talent warrants him to be top 5 in the NBA. But after that, there is a significant drop-off. And I'm comparing them to other teams in the bubble that have perimeter shooting, have explosive players, and I believe my Portland Trailblazers have that. And Gary Trent, who's a sniper from the 3-point line. Damian Lillard, we all know he's a great shooter. Carmelo Anthony, one of the greatest scorers in NBA history. I think the Portland Trailblazers are going to give LeBron and the Lakers fits in the first round, and I think it's going to be a 7-game series minimal, and anything can happen in a 7-game series.
Nice. Look, you just made it real interesting. But look, I like the Trailblazers. I love what they're doing. Skinny Mellow, Bubble Mellow, whatever you want to call him. I think what he's been able to add has just been magnificent. And you guys said it. People wrote him off. What better way to come back than exactly what he's doing? He's been a perfect compliment. And it's going to be fun. But again, I don't think you can write the Lakers off. And Lakers fans will make sure you know that. But again, I think the Lakers are playing with a chip on their back after all that's been going on this year. So I think it's only right if they were able to
See, Kelsey, I thought before the NBA shutdown, the Lakers were the favorites because they were steamrolling their way into the playoffs. They had all the momentum. You remember they had beat Giannis and the Bucks Friday in LA. Then they beat the Clippers on Sunday in Staples Center. So I thought at that moment, LeBron and the Lakers were rolling. I think the layoff hurt the Lakers more than any other team in the bubble, Kelsey, because right now they're last in 3-point field goal percentage. They're last in overall field goal percentage. They can't shoot and they can't defend the 3. I think that's a recipe for a team that can be upset in the first or second round of the playoffs. I definitely don't think they're gonna beat the Clippers. I really don't.
Clarence, you were shaking your head.
Look, because I'm telling you, I'm gonna be honest. The Lakers don't have good guard. They don't play defense on guards. That right there is something they have to get better. And when you get a player like Rondo, that's another defensive player for that Lakers team. Like I just think this Lakers team is deep. It's deep enough, and they gonna win it, Kelsey. I'm just telling him this, that the Portland Trailblazers. I gave him the benefit. First I said if they LA in 5, but I'm saying LA in 6 because Dame Dollar is playing on another level.
Okay, real quick, Kelsey. We got a couple of quick hitters for you, real quick, before we get out of here. Anthony Davis or Giannis? Who is the better player?
Oh, I'm going Giannis.
Thank you, Kelsey.
We're going to have to bring you back on so we can argue that another show. Okay. LeBron, Kobe, Michael Jordan. Rank them 1 to 3 all time.
All right, I'm going MJ, LeBron, Kobe.
Thank you. You is a smart woman, Kelsey.
Okay.
Often.
You want to shout out social media?
I got one more. Hold on, Clarence. Kelsey, who is your NBA MVP?
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, okay. All right. I think you have to give it to Giannis.
Thank you.
3 strikes. Oh yeah. Oh, woo.
Sorry, but Giannis is playing lights out. Giannis gives it all on the floor, and he's just incredible. And he's why the NBA has a bright future.
Last question. Who are your favorites to get to the NBA Finals, East and West, and who's going to win a championship?
Ooh, okay. So I said Lakers. The East is actually the one I'm questioning. But I'm saying the Lakers are going to win it. From the East, honestly, I don't know. I think it's a toss-up. But honestly, does it matter?
I got Milwaukee.
That win.
Yeah. Okay, Kelsey, you got any social media you want to shout out before you get out of here?
So people can follow me at the Real K Nelson on Twitter, Instagram, Real K Nelson, on Facebook, just my name, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. Check out my website, kelseynicolenelson.com, and check out my podcast, Listening with K&N. Thank you all for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, Kelsey, we definitely want to bring you back on because I have some NBA I want to challenge you on. So we definitely want to bring you back on.
Let's do it. I'm all for it. Let's do it. Long as you're nice to the Wizards, I will come back on because they've had enough hurt.
Oh, they ain't gonna talk about the Wizards.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kelsey, for joining us on Wise Guys on the Worldwide Sports Network. We're definitely going to be in touch with you about bringing you on again. You have a great night.
Thanks for having me, guys. Bye.